6 months from now, your church might look and operate completely different. I'm not talking about new programs or building a bigger building. I'm talking about a tool that's already here, already changing the way pastors sermon prep, the way they lead, and the way they reach the lost. And it's called Chat GPT, or in other words, AI.
Kingdom and culture.
You know, with the advent of AI, there's all kinds of new concepts that are flooding the church. There's all kinds of new ways of doing business that are flooding the pastorate. And I think one of the big ones is sermon prep is cut in half. Sermon prep in half the time. See, the problem is many pastors spend about 12 to 20 hours a week preparing for sermons, leaving less time for prayer, for discipleship, their personal discipleship, and also the discipleship of others and outreach. So ChatGPT or other AI models can summarize multiple commentaries. They can give and fill in historical context. They can suggest illustrations and ideas in minutes without replacing the pastor's study or the voice in which the pastor is speaking in. This is just one way that I think ChatGPT will help and also speed up the effectiveness of our local churches. You know, Acts chapter 6 and verse 4 says, "But we will devote ourselves to prayer and to the ministry of the word." So the pastor has a calling on his life, prayer and devoting himself to the ministry of the word. Sometimes with our modern context, all the commentaries, all the things that clutter our mind and all the stuff that makes actual pastoral work kind of hard and tedious. It's the book report on the same book every single week, but you have to trudge through so much of the same information that you've gone over for years and years and years to make sure that you're biblically accurate, that you're theologically sound, that your orthodoxy is lining up with tradition. And part of the problem is it's hard to summarize all that in our human brains. ChatGPT or AI models can do that instantly. See, AI should increase our prayer time. It should increase our time in the word, not decrease it. It's like digging with a shovel as opposed to digging with a backhoe. If you're looking for gold, if you're looking to hit pay dirt, you can dig with a shovel and you might even get to some gold. You might find some specks of gold here or there. But if you want to hit pay dirt and you want to get there faster, the best way to do it is with a backhoe. Now, there might be some things that you throw out or maybe some things that you pass up because you're moving so much dirt. You're moving so quickly. But at the same time, you're going to get to your goal a lot faster. This version is still you. It's still you speaking, but it's just getting to some of the places you're trying to get much quicker. The tool makes faster work of where you're trying to go. So AI won't preach your sermons for you, but it can give you back hours to pray over your sermon, to study your sermon, even a little longer, to rehearse your sermon. Maybe just like your worship team prepares and goes over live singing of their songs every week, you would take a moment, maybe multiple times a week, and rehearse the sermon over and over and over again so that you have it down, you feel fresh on Sunday morning. Small churches with big impact. See, AI is also going to give small churches a greater impact because small churches often lack things like a creativity team, a marketing budget, administrative help. But with AI, one person can create sermon graphics. Simple. With a few lines of text in one of these programs, you can create all kinds of graphics that look beautiful. They look like an actual paid for designer has taken hours and hours and hours to develop these images. You can follow up with visitors through emails that AI is disseminating or it's even following up in context with. You can create social media content that actually gives you and frees up time so you can hit more people on more platforms in a fraction of the time it would take otherwise. So it's closing the gap from small churches to large churches because, you know, as your church grows, you have more resources and you throw more resources connecting with more people and pushing out information for the church and developing more programs, and all these things can happen now with some of these AI assistants and AI tools. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 22 says that the parts of the body that seem weaker are indispensable. We actually need small churches. We need medium-sized churches. We need large churches. We need churches at every level. But what tends to separate small churches from big churches happens to be the tools at their disposal. That used to be the human capital, the people capital, and experts at using things like Photoshop or experts in fields like social media. So now the churches that are small can have expertise wrapped around a tool that's very easy to use. See, AI is the small church's megaphone. It's what gets your vision out. It's what gets your voice out louder, probably than you could do on your own once you learn how to use some of these tools. Truth will need guardrails, though. AI can produce biblically sounding answers that are not accurate. And without discernment, churches could unintentionally spread false doctrine or false teaching. And so the reality is we still have to do our due diligence. We still have to be discerning. We don't want to mess up what God's called us to do. We don't want to take our church and our congregants off on a tangent that isn't really biblically sound. Something might sound good, it might sound biblical, but it isn't foundational, meaning it isn't something that holds up to orthodoxy or the scrutiny of theology. It isn't something that holds to a good hermeneutic. And so we've got to do our part as pastors. Now, someday I think these models will change and it will probably spit out really good information very consistently. But the reality is right now, we can't always trust it. Sometimes there's things that are given that just aren't lining up with good orthodoxy, good Bible doctrine. So Acts 17 verse 11 says, they received the word with all eagerness, examining the scriptures daily to see if these things were so. So we also as Christians understand that we're supposed to examine the scriptures. We as pastors and Christians and lay leaders should take what's given and examine it according to the scriptures. We have to keep testing everything according to the word of God. Even if a tool like AI is giving us some shortcuts, we can't shortcut the theology. We can't shortcut the doctrine. So AI is a tool. It's a tool that we use, but truth is the standard. We have to always come back to the standard of the word of God. So you have to know what you know, you have to know what you believe, and you can't be shortcutting the actual foundational truths of who you are, of what you're preaching, of what you're teaching, of what your church believes, of what discipleship material you're disseminating. The truth still has to be the standard. Evangelism without walls, though, is going to grow. Evangelism without walls is going to explode exponentially. See, evangelism is often limited by physical gatherings or planned events, missing millions of people who are searching online for the truth. And the church can use tools like AI and Chat GPT to create gospel-centered Q&A tools, question and answer tools. You can create conversation flows, talking back and forth with an AI agent to get real good biblical information and advice. You can even create online engagement that reaches people who are seeking in your local area, in your local environment, who are seeking answers about the word of God 24/7. So while you're sleeping, AI can still be working. It can still be performing. You can take your sermon on Sunday that you record, whether it's live stream or whether it's recorded for later consumption. You can take that sermon and AI can break that down into 5, 6, 7, or 10 mini clips that you can put all throughout social media. You can use that sermon to have AI craft a blog or a newsletter, but there's so many ways in which AI can take the information that you've given, that you've preached, that you've studied hard on, that AI has helped you cut down your study time on, and now disseminate that digitally across multiple platforms. And it can do it within moments, literally minutes. Romans chapter 10 and verse 14 says, how are they to believe in him whom they have not heard? The reality is AI can help the gospel go places that a pastor or church congregation can't physically go. It's like having a missionary in everyone's home every hour of the day without knocking on a single door. We can literally get in the pockets of every human person on the planet. This is accelerating the gospel, and we can take what we're already doing, not adding much work at all, to our day. In fact, I think we can actually cut back on some of the hours we work, because AI, it won't replace the Great Commission, but it can accelerate it in ways that we never thought possible. So Chat GPT will not replace the shepherd. It's not going to replace your pastor. It's not going to replace you, the congregation, going out and doing what God's called you to do, but it can amplify your reach. It can multiply our impact. It can free us up so we can focus and work on things that we're called to do in our callings as pastors, as we're called to do as a congregation, that we are called to love people, that we're called to lead people, that we're called to feed the flock and feed the congregation. We can do all those things, I believe, with greater emphasis when we embrace some of these changes coming by AI. In the next 6 months, AI will either be something that gives your church a leg up, or it's something that you ignore, something that you use with wisdom and in context for your church to further the gospel, or it'll be something that you put on the side shelf and others will take and run with it. Don't let the next generation or the pastor next door or the church across the street outrun you. There's a level of healthy competition we all need in ministry and in life. Use these tools to catch up. If you're a small church, use these tools to mimic what some of the big churches are doing. If you're a big church, use these tools in more creative ways. Chart the path so we can come behind you and see the things that are possible with AI. So I want to ask you a question, something I probably should have asked at the beginning, but what's one thing that you can think AI could help in your church in the next 6 months? Whatever that is, type it in the comments below. Let me know. Maybe it's something that we haven't thought of. Maybe it's something so creative that, man, other people would love to connect with that, use that in their local context and watch their church have a greater impact. You know, Ephesians chapter 5, verses 15 through 16 says, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of time because the days are evil." We need to make the best use of the time that God's given us. So if this idea of AI and how it can change the church in the next 6 months has sparked something in you, don't sleep on it. Don't stop at inspiration. Take one step in the next week. Experiment with a tool that you haven't used before. Start a conversation. Explore a new way of sharing the gospel through AI or through some artificial intelligence like Chat GPT that you would have never thought about. See, the church that prepares now will lead in the future, and things are coming so fast. I say 6 months, it might be the next 3 months. Heck, it might even be the next 2 months. So get on this train, because I think it's going to take us somewhere as a church that's very impactful for our region, that's very impactful for the world as a whole. So we hope you got something out of it. Hopefully you're commenting in the comment section below things that you would love to see the church work on as far as AI and how it could help. And until next time, we love you, and keep focusing the kingdom on culture. We'll see you.